5-inch CRT, black and white. What makes a CRT cool for using an instrumental transcommunication is what you got to understand is basically, oh, about to drop my stuff. What you got here, you've got a cathode ray tube. So the cathode is heated and electrons are boiled off of that cathode, and you have a whole shit ton of electrons just sitting there by the cathode. And at the very front of this screen, they put like 10,000 volts, right? So all those electrons come flying up to the front because they're positively charged. Then it's got electromagnets all the way around this thing, and those electromagnets are actually drawing the line one at a time. You've got an electron gun, a high voltage electron gun. Now a lot of these CRTs, modern TVs, the chips that they use to actually tune in the radio have a built-in function. This built-in function is to limit the operation of the CRT if the chip detects characteristics that the CRT is emitting X-ray radiation. So this tube is fully capable of emitting X-ray radiation. It probably has a tad bit of X-ray radiation emitting from it, but when that chip senses that over the threshold of saying, oh shit, this thing's gonna blow up and shooting out X-rays everywhere, it'll shut the thing down. 6L6s will do that too. EL34s, you see them glowing purple, and that's putting out the purple glow that you're seeing is what you can see of the bottom end of the ultraviolet spectrum. But what you can't see is when those things are glowing blue like that, a lot of times they're throwing out X-ray radiation. That's pretty tough. So, the sweep circuit, it's a triangle wave. It's slightly modified to have a hitch in it, because I think that works better when you start getting going fast. As you can see, as I speed up the sweep, well, actually, I was going the wrong way. Let's go this way. Here we go. Do it real slow. You can hear the triangle wave oscillation being produced through the audio. Wub, 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 wub. It's extremely slow. You get it faster, start getting a tone. I don't know if you're going to get much in there. You know, start expanding those lines out so they're bouncing and switching and going back and forth and doing weird stuff. I like it when it starts strobing. Kind of sound like a motorcycle engine revving right around in there. See what the now the VHF on this is a little weird. It's not intense. It really doesn't look like it's sweeping fast. Sometimes when you catch it, it'll start doing some weird shit. Now when you do use the original tuning control over here, it does interject DC bias into the sweep circuit. And I think that has a lot to do with why the VHS is so tame sometimes on these. When I get a TV where the VHS is really rambunctious and I can run it fast, I think that's something to hold on to a little more than the UHF, because it seems like the VHF, what comes through on the antenna actually affects the VHF a little more. See, I touch the antenna, it starts doing a little weird stuff. It's way more sensitive, but it doesn't seem that it is as radical. You could still get a good flash. Get a good flash going, touch the antenna, you can see it having a difference in the what it's doing. So, you know, possibly not as much as an ITC device, but as a actually true ghost box, where you're trying to capture something that's definitely manipulating, touching the antenna, coming through the waveform, modulating it somehow. You know you're doing something. Okay, that was the low VHF. That's UHF. It's the middle VHF. So the low VHF and the high VHF, really do react the same. They're just the bandwidth kind of cut in half there, or however they cut the bandwidth. So another thing that I think is real fun to do with TVs, and if you got an AM ghost box, this isn't a sweeping box, this is the AM radio. You can see the frequency is all the way down. We'll turn down. We turn the sound off on this, but listen to the radio on AM. You can hear it sweeping. See, that's cool. But it seems like it fades away from that sometimes. Like it does this, and then it goes into like a real smooth transition. But yeah, you can hear it coming out of the AM radio, the different frequencies of the sweep. And what that is those yoke coils I was talking about spinning the electromagnetic field around, and while simultaneously shooting electrons towards this screen. The reason it glows is because it's covered with a phosphorescent paint on the inside. So when the electron hits it, it energizes that chemical and makes it light up. So that's the dude that I posted. Whoa, that got a little weird. See it again? You wait, you know, you get them going, something a little stable, and then weird stuff starts kicking in. It's like, whoa. Hey, anybody there? Let's turn this off and listen to the static. Ask if anybody there. Now, on a couple occasions, not very many. That's what I was saying. It doubles. What this ghost box, the TV ghost box, is sweeping dead air, and it doubles as a dead air ghost box sweeper. So, like when you watch your, what was that, Zach Baggins and his PSB7, and I think that he's like cut the antenna wire. I even heard as extreme as cutting a tuning coil on the inside of that thing, so it's completely dead, that it doesn't get any broadcast at all, only localize. Anything that might vibrate the other side of that coil would affect that ghost box. And that's kind of the idea with the TV, is like you're not sweeping broadcast bands. These bands are off the air. There's not supposed to be anything on there. If you get somewhere up in the high stuff and you can like squeak through on the low VHF and hit some weird stuff, you might be able to nail like the weather service. But that's probably doing something weird if it's doing that anyways. Oh, brain fart. Okay. So yeah, on a couple occasions, and only on like 2 occasions did I get voices in my basement. I don't know if I've gotten this out because I've left these TVs running, put a camera on it, and then like if I have time, come back to it. And I'll usually use like a VHS camera because, as you can see, it is really sharp. And I know like if some people think that like if you blur your camera or you use kind of like an old school camera that's naturally going to fuzz those things, that somehow you're cheating. But I don't think ITC systems work that way. I think that whatever's affecting is not just the TV. You put the TV, you put a radio, you put a camera here, and you've created a system in which, you know, you're looking at the TV right now, but on your camera, if you start looking at digital film speeds, digital shutter speeds, you'll start seeing how, and you'll see how you can get a totally different what the camera sees. It's not about what your naked eye is seeing. It's about what the camera is seeing. You're using the camera to capture the image anyway. So the camera intrinsically becomes part of the ITC system. This is part of it. When I'm holding in my hand taking a picture, a part of it. And so when I'm doing stuff, you know, sometimes I'll run like a black and white filter, and it'll take these phosphorescent, these things that are looking blue, and it'll turn those into different shades of gray, and that creates a whole nother layer. And it's sometimes, you know, it's hard to look at, but if you're just looking at one layer versus the other layer and understanding that you're trying to look at a specific layer, then you can nail out and say, man, yeah, there is like a weird, that was weird. That was weird. And you'll start to know what's weird after you like look at a bunch of this, you know what I mean? Like if you look at it frame by frame and say when it gets up to that weird spot where it's tweaking, like if that's rhythmic, you know, you're going frame by frame, you'll start running into patterns. You'll start understanding and seeing what the TV looks like when it's not capturing. And then when you do see something weird, you're like, whoa. And you know, a lot of people might look at that and be like, you know, this isn't legit proof. This isn't, you know, proof of anything. And you know, that's not, you know, for me, I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just trying to take cool pictures, and if I get a creepy face or something weird, I'm satisfied. If it's a really good creepy face, if the image that I get is psychedelic some way, I enjoy that aspect out of it. I enjoy seeing all the different randomness this thing can put out, and outside of the patterns of, yeah, this is kind of just what the TV looks like. You know, you see something, you're like, wow, that's crazy. And, you know, I haven't really had a holy grail yet. I've been working with them for a while. I've looked at a lot of stuff, and I haven't had, you know, like a full frontal 3D face of, like, you know, undisputable, this is a face. You know, I haven't got that from this. I'm not saying it can't produce that. I wish, I believe that it can. I believe the potential to capture that is here. I believe that is up to whoever is projecting enough PK energy into this box in order to make it happen. You know what I mean? The potential is there. If I plug in something into the video input, you're going to see a picture clear as day on it, and you can say, yeah, that's a face, because, you know, it's a picture of a face, you know, and that's going in. So it has that capability. The potential is there. Is the potential there for a paranormal encounter to organize itself in that way is another story. Okay, so this is this TV. I'll plug in this other TV and see if it, you know, what kind of differences it has. This is a, you know, like your 5-1 look. This ain't got a knob. It looks dirty. Whatever. I just saying I have this one too. That's kind of what it is. Let's see if I can find the thing to plug it in without incriminating myself in my dirty house. Okay. Alright, he's on. Volume. See, now this guy, that's what I'm saying. This is why I said I would offer. Look at this guy. The static just seems a little fatter. The CRT, whatever this one's using, however this was set up, I don't know, whatever. I mean, because this is a 5-inch black and white CRT2. If you were to look at the data sheet, it would be an identical CRT to the other CRT, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same stuff. Maybe this is an older one. The newer ones had a little more refinement to them. Maybe they figured out how to tune them a little better. But I do like this one because it has a little fatter static, and I think it's fatter static gives it a little more contrast to what you're doing. That's pretty slow. I think this one will actually travel a little slower than the other one. It gets just as fast. Just on the other one, the sweet spot with the fastness has a wider band on the control. I figured that was a little more important than being able to just dive bomb it into slowness. Things traveling incredibly slow. It looks really fast, but that's really not that fast, the waveform. Okay, let's see, what does this switch it to? So, low VHF on this one, with the antenna down on it, makes this weird stripe. I don't know. Makes a weird stripe. Kind of cool though. You always know that one's yours. You can see it going. It has a little more contrast on the low VHF. That's why I offered, bro. Because this one does just a little bit more. He may not be as aesthetically pleasing, kind of look dorky walking around with a fucking TV lantern. But the low VHF and the high VHF really do whop better on this guy. But like the other one, it kind of lost it. It's just what they do. when they catch. On the low VHF, you never have that. Never. I'm tongue-tied, dude. It's late. You're never gonna have that problem on the UHF. The UHF is always strong. But UHF is not going to be as sensitive to lower frequencies such as touch as the LVH and the H extreme, whatever, the HV and the LV UHF. Sorry, man, it's late. And I wasn't planning on making at least a 15-minute video. You'd probably get bored and think I'm a retard. But there you go. And just like with this one, see, I like this one. I think this one looks a little better on the screen, but somebody might want a box that looks a little more aesthetically pleasing to carry around, whatever. Looks newer. It's a newer TV. It's not been as beat up, so you don't have to worry about the quality of the TV being slightly, you know, the integrity being not as good just because it hadn't been banged around as much. Whatever. So yeah, there's plus and minuses to both the lantern and the other guy. Just depends on what you're looking for. I personally think that's a pretty good low VHF, homie. You're gonna get some weird shit in that. That's all the way fast. You can see it traveling up. A little harder to get a hold of that guy. You can stop him. We got him stopped. So you send him back the other way really fast. And it all depends. You know what? You gotta play with your camera. You gotta play with your camera settings. You gotta understand that your camera is part of the system. And as a standalone piece, the results are as limited as the extra piece of equipment camera that you put in front of it. But yeah, what I like to do also is I like to set a VHS camera in front of this and run that thing to a really big color TV CRT and actually take pictures of the bigger TV. Some of the old school cameras have a little trouble focusing that close, but I think sometimes that blur, because I mean, that's the thing, man, these electrons are hitting the front of this thing, and that phosphorus is like, for a second, it glows. And when that electron beam isn't hitting it anymore, it still glows for a brief second until it fades away. And I think there might be something just in the you know, the electrochemical process of that itself, the possibilities of how they could affect that there's a lot. You know what I mean? You've got a lot of possibilities of how this unit can be affected. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody wants a sweeping radio. This is a radio. A TV is a radio. It's just that there's nothing there anymore. Alright, dude. Take it easy, man.